What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Lockdown 23-1. And today we're going to be talking about a few different penitentiaries and a story that almost brought a tear to my eye last night. And I strongly recommend y'all go watch it. If you got Netflix, you got to go watch this. But we're going to talk a little bit about this story, as well as some crazy things going on in the prison system in a state near you. It could be near you. The first story is coming from a notorious prison that I knew nothing about until just, past 2 weeks with people telling me about it, how they were locked up in segregation, all the crazy stories that come from this place. But Lake Butler Medical Center, Corrections Reception and Medical Center, ladies and gentlemen. 2 former prison guards in Florida who were members of the Klan have been convicted of plotting to kill a black inmate in relation for a scuffle with another guard who also belonged to the hate group. The third guard, Mr. Driver, also worked at the facility, which processes new male inmates into the prison system and provides medical care for prisoners throughout the state. He pled guilty to conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and was sentenced to 4 years in prison. See, look, in my eyes, if a correctional officer, someone that is, paid to protect, attempt something like this, attempted murder, 4 years or not, he probably dropped dime on other guys, tell you the truth, but 4 years is, sorry man, it ain't enough. It ain't, what's 4, I got 4 years, and I wasn't even doing nothing but protecting myself, my own well-being from getting jumped, and I got 4 years. But this dude, he attempts to murder someone, he's planning to murder someone, and he was an officer of the law, I guess you could say. Not to the extent of a police officer, but a correctional officer, it doesn't matter. Still somewhat paid by the state officer of the law to protect and serve. He gets 4 years. I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it. These Klansmen plotted to murder a black inmate after he was released from prison, but swift action and clever investigation by the feds. We will continue to work daily to ensure the Klan or any other hate-filled organization is unable to inflict violence on the citizens of our great state. Prosecutors say the plan was hatched at a Klan meeting in Jacksonville area in late 2014. Look, ladies and gentlemen, Jacksonville, y'all better be Jacksonville. I ain't going Jacksonville. Driver told an FBI informant, okay, so I guess this is why he got 4 years. Probably got a deal. He sounds like he's working with the FBI. Told the FBI informant who had infiltrated the group that Driver had gotten into a physical altercation with the inmate, according to a partially redacted affidavit at the time of their arrests. Driver said the inmate had bitten him during the struggle and he was worried about contracting a disease. The 3 men told the informant they wanted to see the inmate 6 feet under once he was released, according to the affidavit. Well, that's pretty insane of a story. Lake Butler, ladies and gentlemen. I got, if you haven't heard stories of this place, correctional officers are either really cool or they're out to get you. Go check out all my past interviews titled Florida Prison. Some guys speaking some real stuff. Salute to y'all for coming on the show once again. Now, the next story is coming straight from Arizona. Where's all my Arizonians at? There's videos going around that was leaked by whoever within the Department of Corrections, which is pretty crazy. I'm trying to figure out how they would leak it. They probably saved it to a different hard drive or whatever, and then upload it online. I don't know anything about it, but they go on to say that the person who leaked it was a very brave individual for exposing what's going on in this Arizona prison. And the video reveals disturbing everyday truth about multiple units inside Lewis Correctional Facility. Cell doors do not lock. And I got a story to talk about this, but and the doors haven't locked for years. This is a correctional officer speaking. They haven't locked for years. What the hell kind of, and this is a high level 4 between a 1 and a 5, 5 being the highest in the state of Arizona. This is a level 4 penitentiary, all right? And they're saying that the doors haven't locked for years. What kind of freaking backwoods, sideways-ass penitentiary is this? I'm not saying that it's bad altogether, because what kind of inmate wants a locked door besides the weak ones that are scared that someone's going to come in there and murder them, And it did happen. We're going to talk about that in a second. But The doors haven't been locked for years. It's Jurassic Park, said Mr. Garcia, a retired 20-year employee of the Arizona Department of Corrections. These are top-of-the-line offenders. They don't even need a key. This is crazy. Look, first things first, every prison I've been to, man, look, with cell doors, as soon as you lock in, there's a CO that goes around and they pull the door, make sure it's locked, you know. Except for sometimes there was this one prison where the doors are locked, and I guess you could see the little light on the control panel in the CO's box, and it will turn a different color if it's locked, even though they're not locked, you know. So some guards, they won't check the doors as long as it's reading it's locked on the control panel. They'll just go about their rounds. But I knew people that would do stuff like put paper towel or sheet in a lock, and it would kind of lock it, but it wouldn't, and you could just really pop it open real hard and it will open up. I've seen other people with bars of soap trick the mechanism. These are for like older cells with the roll bar technique. Man, I've seen those, you know, people breaking open them things all the time. That was in Chesapeake City Jail, as a matter of fact. I used to do it my damn self. You know, I used to have this little technique. I'm not going to say anything else, but a little technique. And the cell doors, they're roll type, you know. They'll open up this old freaking box, and they have like a roll, you know, like a metal rolling wheel, and it will roll the bars, and it'll close like that, and it'll lock it from there and close the case up. But these things were so damn old and ancient, man, I could pop that freaking cell door open instantly. And this stuff, if it happens in my city, if it's happening in Arizona, trust and believe it's happening all across the country. People know how to pop them freaking cell doors. It goes on to say that DOC has received millions to repair locks and security at prisons, but other projects have taken precedence over the unit at Lewis. What other projects could have taken precedence over the freaking locking of doors in prison? I mean, that's key to a prison. Locked doors, right? No more locked doors. But I guess there's other bigger things, which is probably someone's wallet that the money's going to. Anyways, these inmates, they pop their cell doors. I'm talking about, it looks like a party. Everyone's cell doors are just wide open. And the guards knew it. You know, the guards have been living like this. Those guards are ballsy. I'll tell you what, be walking into a cell block knowing that the cell doors don't lock. That's ballsy, man. You know, but the cell doors didn't lock. They ended up attacking a few correctional officers and beating the hell out of them. And it wasn't just like 1 or 5 people. It was like 10 or 15 individuals running down into the little rec area and beating the hell out of these guys, you know. Just before midnight on June 6, 2018, surveillance video shows a handful of free-roaming inmates walking in and out of a corner cell for more than 30 minutes. Inside the cell was Mr. McCormick, was being beaten so badly that he died in the hospital 4 days later. Of all places for locks not to be working for the safety of inmates and officers alike, what the heck, said Mrs. McCormick, Andrew's mother, who's planning to sue. Yeah, sue the hell out of him. You know what I mean? Sue him. It makes no sense. According to internal investigations into the death, investigators noted repeatedly how inmates moved freely throughout the incident and opened and closed their doors without the assistance of an officer. The death investigation has also revealed how officers have accepted the doors don't work and all but giving up on trying to follow proper safety and security policies because controlling inmates with broken locks is nearly impossible. I can't believe this prison was letting these dudes just roam freely in a level 4 penitentiary. The predators and drug addicts love it, but the weaker inmates live in a state of constant fear. Look, I'll tell you this, man. If the cell doors were open like that on a regular basis, me personally, if I was in this level 4 prison, all right, and look, I don't care where you're at, okay, the higher level prisons, they're filled with violent offenders, murderers, and rapists, okay? There's going to be a certain, you know, level of intensity when it comes to people's character, okay? It's not going to be like no freaking low-level prison where you really ain't got to worry about your life. This is like a war field, all right? And if these cell doors didn't lock, look, I would have booby traps on my door with something that would ring some kind of bell or make noise with a string, something, man. I would do anything and everything I could to make sure I knew when my cell door was being opened, you know. Last thing you want in the middle of the night for someone to open up the cell door. I bet these guys were sleeping with their boots on, with shanks underneath their pillow and everything, because you have no safety whatsoever. And you could be the coolest guy in the block and still have a hater that wants to kill you, you know. So I can only imagine the type of situations or type of fear some of these individuals were going through, sleeping in a freaking cell, surrounded by murderers and stuff, and the cell door don't even lock. You know, you got to be on guard 24/7. I bet that crap, you come out of that penitentiary with some severe PTSD. You'll be locking every door for the rest of your life. A lot of these inmates don't care about punishment. They're lifers, said Officer Garza, who was assaulted and badly injured after an October incident, who needed 2 surgeries to repair his nose, and another officer were attacked by multiple inmates who refused to get back in their cells during the attack. More inmates left their cells to join in. Arizona's going buck wild, ladies and gentlemen. I strongly recommend, if you are committing crimes in the Arizona area, to rethink your career choice, especially if it's something severe like robberies and carrying weapons with drugs. I mean, think twice, because you're going to be going to a cell that ain't got no locked doors, and you're going to want a locked door. Now, next story. Now, this one is very crazy, all right? I strongly recommend you go watch this video on Netflix, man. It about broke me down to tears. It was an amazing story. I actually messaged him on Instagram. I want him to come onto the show. He's been on 60 Minutes. All kinds of TV channels and networks had this guy on there. They made a Netflix documentary on this guy. It's a crazy story, but let's get into it. A young man by the name of Juan, okay? He was arrested for the murder, I believe, of a 16-year-old. And they were trying to give him death penalty. I believe the prosecutor has never lost a case. From what I remember, okay? I'm not reading it. I'm just going by what I watched last night. This prosecutor, a young lady, I think they called her the sniper because she won every case, and every case she fought over was the death penalty, okay? This is coming out of the state of California, all right? Juan was arrested on murder charges for a 16-year-old girl. And there's also witnesses that said they saw him at the scene at that time. And long story short, the way this guy beat the charge was absolutely a miracle. It was a miracle sent from above, okay? The crime took place, I believe, at 10:12 p.m. 10:12 p.m. And the detectives were like, okay, where's your alibi? If you weren't there, where were you? Okay, so his daughter takes a stand and says, my daddy was at Dodger Stadium, took me to a Dodger Stadium to watch a baseball game. He bought me ice cream. And of course, she's young. She's like 6 years old, so the testimony doesn't really, it doesn't help him. She's too young. She could easily been persuaded by her dad, whatever the case is. So the testimony isn't holding no weight. So the guy's attorney, okay, turns out he does some deep research. He said, where were you at that time? He said, I was at the Dodgers baseball game, okay? And this is an old story, but it's still really good. And it goes to show you that a lot of people are being convicted of crazy stuff, and they probably shouldn't be in prison for life. Or they probably had the death penalty already, and they probably were innocent, you know? So check it out. He says, I was at this Dodgers game at this time, you know? And just so happened that the creator of Seinfeld, okay, I forget his name, but the creator of Seinfeld was filming for his new episode on HBO. And Juan magically was in the aisle that they were filming in. Out of the whole stadium, okay, he was magically in the aisle that they were filming on. So the attorney goes to the stadium and tries to back up what this guy's saying, that there was a camera crew there and all that stuff. And the attorney's like, hey, can I check your logbook? Was there ever any kind of camera crew here in this stadium? He goes through all the months, and all the pages are blank. No one's there. And then finally he comes to that exact day and that exact month, the camera crew came in. He called the number of the camera crew, and it turns out it was HBO. Okay, HBO was filming for this new episode, and he's like, man, I got to get a hold of your footage. Please, is there any way that I can try to get a hold of your footage and see if my defendant is in the background during this time? And sure enough, they closed out the aisle. Okay, they closed down the aisle of the stadium where they were filming, and that was the aisle that he was sitting in. He took his daughter to go get ice cream, brought her back, and the guy said, "You can't walk through right now. Give us 5 minutes. We're filming." And for some reason, the cameraman says, "Screw it. Go ahead. Walk to your seat. Hurry up." And boom! By the graces of God, he's caught on camera, ladies and gentlemen. What are the odds of that? It proves that he was there until about 9. The game ended between, the game lasted from like 8 to like 9:40 or something like that. That's where they could prove. But there's still a window that he could have left and murdered that young girl. So that wasn't the only thing that helped him out. Even though it helped him out, it wasn't 100% foolproof to keep him from getting the death penalty. So the detectives and investigators say, "What else did you do right after?" He said, "I called, I think it was his girl or something like that." And they checked the cell towers to see where, I guess it was pinging off of. And sure enough, he made the call from across the street of the Dodgers Stadium. And that, my friends, is what went on to sign and seal the deal, okay? He was found innocent. But if it wasn't for that videotape, if it wasn't for the investigators being pressured by the attorney or whatever to go get the records from the cell towers and all that, I mean, dude would have gotten the death penalty for something he didn't even do. The judge went on to say, "Listen, I took the recordings, the video recordings of everything going on in the investigator's room before the court proceedings even happened." And the guy was like, "You got the wrong guy." And all this to the detectives, and the detectives like, "No, we don't. Your life is over," Telling the guy his life is over and all this, that, and the third. And he's like crying and stuff. He's like, "Man, I swear I did not do it." And the judge said she took this stuff home and listened to it over and over and over again. Even asked her children if they felt as though this guy was telling the truth. And sure enough, she felt like he was telling truth. With all the evidence applied to the case, he beat it. And the story is amazing, man. It's amazing. And then it goes on to the end. I don't want to tell you the crazy ending about the witnesses that said they saw him. It was pretty messed up, man. Pretty messed up stuff out there in California. This stuff is happening all across the country, all right? People are sitting in prison doing a lot of time, and they're being, released too. There's a lot of stories of people being released after doing 20 years when they realize, hey, it wasn't him. And, if I were to say the worst, I can only imagine how many people got the death penalty and they really didn't do it. Can you imagine that, ladies and gentlemen? Can you imagine sitting in prison for 20 years or getting the death penalty for something you didn't even do? You didn't do it. You are completely 100% innocent. That, my friends, is the worst way to do time. That I can't even begin to understand or comprehend or put myself in anybody's shoes that's going through a situation like that. It's sad, man. And if anyone out there is going through that, man, I pray for them, man. I pray for them, because that is just torture to be sitting behind bars or facing a life sentence for something you did not do. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed these little episodes. Do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button. If you did, add me up on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. Go buy yourself some merchandise off of Teespring. Go check out my second channel, 23 and Fun, with behind the scenes and inspirational stuff. A lot of vlogs on that channel, a lot of vlogs. And please keep in mind, today is Friday. Be safe, get an Uber, wear your seatbelt, get a designated driver. You don't want no DUI. Just be safe out there, man. Trust me, I got a DUI, and it was one of the worst things I ever had to go through. It was tough, man. But as always, I salute to every last one. You've been supporting me since the beginning, and everyone who's just now joining the lockdown compound.